Alright, so today we had a CSL playoffs match against rematch against Junior Sniper45, and I did bring a very similar team. I changed some things up. I did not bring Tapu Bulu the first time. This time I brought like a Focus Punch Tapu Bulu. I brought a really similar Milotic. I brought pretty much the same Buffalo set, but instead of the bright powder, I went with the Chesto Berry. My Heat Train, I turned it into a Scarf Heat Train. I brought Thunder Wave over Shadow Ball, I believe, on Latios. And Noivern is Life Orb and not Specs. Or whatever, not Scarf for the Chiron Black. So without further ado, here's how the battle went. He leads off with Quillfish. I'm just going to Dragon Pulse here. He's going to do a ton. He's going to set up a Toxic Spikes. And yeah, this is like almost no KO. Now the Toxic Spikes are threatening to my team because I did not bring Hazard Removal. And 3 of my mons are affected by it. So I'm just going to turn on this Gardevoir Omega because I want to keep Northern around. And I go into Bouffalant because I expect Hyper Voice and I'm soundproof. This mon is really underrated in League. So now he goes into Lando, which was actually a pretty good mon against this. I can't really do much about the Lando. So here I'm just going to rest up as he gets up to Stealth Rocks. I don't know if I did the right play there, but whatever. I go into Milotic here, and it's kind of interesting. He goes for the Toxic when he has Toxic Spikes up. Perhaps he thought he'd go into, I had Bouffalant, so perhaps he thought Northern no Adios would come in. That's a good play, really. So I'm going to Body Slam, because I actually still have that, and I do paralyze the Chiron Black, and I get lucky there. I get a full para, and I just phase it, So he's gonna just turn on my Milotic because he knows I kind of just wall this. I'm gonna recover here. I'm doing a lot of cows at this point because I'm like, yeah, that sped me, So I go into Tran here. You just go Fusion Bolt, but I know I can switch into Rocks a couple times, even if he did do that. I kind of expected maybe an Ice Beam, predicting like Bulu or Adios. So I go Flash Cannon. I overpredicted there, by the way. So here I just let Bulu. I let Bouffalant take some damage, and I'm just gonna let this die. Because Gardevoir Omega, as much as it is a threat, Noivern's Hurricane does a lot to it. So here I'm gonna Thunder Wave. I overpredicted because Draco did kill. I thought he'd go hardcore into, just like a hard switch into Gardevoir Omega. So here I go Noivern on that. He doesn't really have a good way to take damage on this. And it goes Gardevoir, and I do take the damage here. I do get it confused, but it does not matter because he hits anyways. And I can put this in, and I know I outspeed him because he'd be running Modest because of the investment. My team in general is bad speed tiers. So I knock him out with a Hidden Power Fire, and he goes into Mind Shao and just turns and kills me. I let that die. I know I can pretty much go KO anything, but I'm cool with those 3 mons right there. Milotic for Orlando, and yeah, Heat Train just got rid of the Chiron Black, and Mind Shao comes in here, and I have to go into Milotic, and yeah, I'm not going to be able to take the hits that I need to take, but I know that Tapu Bulu can pretty much take that crap, and it doesn't really have a great switch into it, so I'm a little bit nervous at this point, but I'm like, okay, so he goes into Lando, and it takes a decent chunk of his HP, so he doesn't really have a way to hit it, because the Grassy Terrain even depletes Earthquake even more, so I just beat that. He's gonna go into Sharpedo here and try to knock me out with a Poison Jab. Yeah, luckily I did bring my Kibia exactly for that, and I just knock out a Sharpedo. Now, if he would have gone Mind Shao there, that would have been more interesting, although I had a choice item, so I could have just switched hard into Heat Train, and that could have been a whole different story. But he did not go Mind Shao, so he was pretty much risking the Kibia. It was not a choke in my opinion. It's almost like a 50-50. It was just, he played pretty well in this game. So yeah, he pretty much didn't have a chance at this point, because even if that Stone Edge hit, It would not have done enough, and T-Train could just clean up. As you can see, that was 49 on a crit. Yeah, I would not have done it. And it would have taken to 19, and this would have just revenge killed. Yeah, so that was the game. Very similar team. Similar result, but I think Junior Sniper played much better game. Yeah, he definitely had a chance to win somewhere in there, and I don't feel like last time he had that. So, props to him. Pretty cool to be in the semifinals for this league. I will be playing Moxie next, who I believe I should have gotten the buy over. So I'm going to be happy to prove that. That's going to be a pretty fun game. And then my boy Bobbert, shout out to Bobbert, is going to be playing Zucifer, who's the 1 seed, who I beat. But yeah, all respects to Zucifer. He was one of the harder opponents I've had in this league, which I haven't lost in yet. But I mean, I think that's going to be an interesting game too, because Bobbert beat Zucifer the first time. I feel like Bobbert's dangerous. I mean, I wouldn't want to play Bobbert personally. Those two were I remember them being pretty hard games for me. I remember Natalie's game not being super easy, but not being hard the first time. Like, I thought I was going to win the whole time, but it wasn't like a breeze. Do you remember my last game with, I believe, Hyper TM? That game, there's no threat of me losing that game whatsoever. Honestly, respect to my opponent there, the Jersey Jump Bluffs, but I did not feel threatened in that game. This game I felt pretty threatened in, actually. It was a close game. And, yeah, pretty much. It was just, this team was a good counter team. And, I kind of think that his matchup was pretty good, but I feel like this almost was the perfect setup, prep-wise, to beat him. Both times were fantastic prep to beat him. I feel like this time was even better with the Tapu Bulu. It actually was really good in this matchup. And it had some really nice tech on it with Focus Punch for Miltank. And yeah, I feel like he didn't play badly. It's just he didn't perform a super clutch. He just wasn't enough. He needed to get all the 50-50s. He needed to get lucky. He needed his own good prep. He played pretty well. So, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how good Moxie really is, because I don't really know that yet. I haven't played him, and it'd be definitely interesting to know if I beat him, which I think I do, but I think it's safer to say I might not. Who I will be facing? Would it be Bobbert or would it be Zucifer? Both of them would be rematches that I've won the first time. So it's interesting. This game was a good game. And I feel like all my games except for the last game with Jersey Jump Bluffs were fairly close games. So I'm expecting my game with Moxie to be pretty much the same.